I'm Caryn Hartglass, and you're listening to It's All About Food. How are you today? I'm listening. Yeah. Some good stuff, some not so good stuff. That's life, right? On today's show, I'm going to be covering two topics. Part one, I'm going to give you an update on my journey with high cholesterol. And in the second part, I'm going to be presenting an interview that I had recently with Ciara Sidell, who works at the Randall's Island Park Alliance at the Urban Farm. So last year, I started talking about my journey with high cholesterol. And I'm looking at my blood data. I actually have data from 1996. That's what a nerd I am. I put it all on a spreadsheet. I didn't save everything, but I have data points from 1996, 2000, 2005, and then from then on, I really kept track of what was going on. But the first thing I want to say is in 1996, that was almost 30 years ago, my cholesterol was normal, 176, and LDL of 96. And then from then on in, it started going up. Now, that apparently is not unusual. Apparently, some of us, our cholesterol and LDL especially, increases over time. So that made me think a number of things. You can have genetic problems that lead to high cholesterol. There's something called familial hypercholesterolemia. We shorten it by calling it FH. That's a lot easier to say. And it's a genetic disorder that causes high LDL cholesterol levels from birth. So I know that I don't have that. And then there's something called lipoprotein(a), and you may remember I had a conversation with Dr. Joel Kahn about that a few years back. And this is also genetically determined cholesterol particle, and it can be harmful. And he goes into detail about that in that interview. I've had my lipoprotein(a) tested, and I know that it's normal. So if you do have high cholesterol, the first thing to determine is if you have a genetic proclivity to high LDL. And then your direction may be informed from that information. So I've been following my cholesterol for a long time, and it's so funny to me. I am a member of Dr. Furman's member forum, and I was looking up just today because I found a study about artichoke extract and how it can lower cholesterol. Somewhat significantly, except it hasn't been really studied in humans. There have been animal studies that show can drop about 17 to 20 points total cholesterol, which is significant. And LDL can drop around that much too, 10 to 20 points. And so I thought that was interesting, and I went to the Furman member forum and I did a search on artichoke extract. And what did you know? I'm still laughing. In 2011, 14 years ago, I asked a similar question about artichoke extract. So you know I've been looking into this for a long time. Dr. Furman's response was he eats a lot of artichokes, and artichokes are really healthy, but he didn't really talk about any studies of significance because that was 2011, and a lot more has come out since then. But back to looking at my data, I remember sometime around 2002, 2003, I did an extremely low fat diet because I thought that might be connected, and what I discovered was my cholesterol went up. So that wasn't it. And I was on a raw diet for a couple of years, and that didn't have any impact on my cholesterol or my LDL. Okay. Then, I went through a cancer journey, 2006 and 2007. I had a lot of blood drawn during that period. And there were a couple of times when my LDL dropped significantly. And I really don't know what to say about that. Does cancer lower your cholesterol? Just joking. I was on a lot of supplements then, and some of them may have been doing their work, but the results of the cholesterol were really sporadic and up and down. So I don't think there was anything consistent there. Also, it could have been significant weight loss, because I did lose a bit of weight periodically during that experience. But who knows? So now I'm back here in 2024, 2025, and I'm the guinea pig again, testing on myself. So you may know, since a year ago, I started on the SOS-free diet, salt, oil, and sugar-free diet. It's 100% nutritarian, as Dr. Furman calls it. Of course, focusing on his foods, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds. I had spoken with Dr. Ron Weiss last year on this podcast, and he was also recommending this type of regimen before jumping into taking any medication. Ron Weiss, of course, is with Ethos Primary Care and Ethos Farm in New Jersey. The first thing I want to say about SOS-free, I love it. I love eating this way. I love the way it makes me feel. I lost 12 to 13 pounds immediately. It was amazing. Magic. People always talk about how to lose those last 5-10 pounds, how hard it is. As soon as I did this, the weight just came off. And I never really considered myself overweight. So this was just fun. I'm just really happy with it. I will admit it's challenging going out and being social. I was just reading an article about how people don't go out to parties and socialize as much anymore since 2003 or something. So people aren't socializing anymore. That's not true. There's a lot of socializing going on, and socializing is really important for our emotional well-being. But especially here in the United States, most people don't know how to eat properly. And when we go into social situations, not only is there plenty of food with animal products in it, but everything's loaded with salt, oil, and sugar. I personally feel it's important to know how to navigate those situations. It may not be for you, but it's really working for me, and I'm happy about it. I just love the way it makes me feel. I've also discovered there are a few places that we can eat. I want to give a shout out specifically to Candle. Now, I've had the former owners of Candle Cafe on this program numerous times, Joy Pearson and Bart Potenza. But the three restaurants that they had created, Candle Cafe, Candle 79, and Candle West, they're all part of history now. And the original chefs, Jorge and Angel, created a new Candle, which is at 28th Street and 3rd Avenue in Manhattan. And they have, drum roll please, an oil-free menu. So their regular menu is already wonderful. It's vegan and it's made with real food. You don't get any meat analogs. They make their own seitan. And the food is just fantastic. But they also have an oil-free menu, and they also respect and understand if you don't want to consume salt. So I can go there with friends and be social and have some great food. You should go there now. And there are many other restaurants as well. There are some Asian-oriented restaurants, Japanese and Chinese, that can easily do steamed vegetables, the good old-fashioned, old-style vegetarian brown rice and steamed vegetables. they're still available in many, many places. So I do okay in that department. And then, of course, at home, Gary and I, my partner Gary, who's an incredible chef, we create wonderful meals every day that are rich and nutritious and satisfying. And I'm collecting a few. I haven't posted that many on my Responsible Eating and Living website recently, but I'm going to have to do that because some of these things are amazing. I know I've talked about the banana bread that we make into like a bagel, which is really fun. And now that it's hot, I've been doing so many frozen fruit smoothies and shakes, and some of them just have been over the top. Made with real ingredients, sweetened with dates sometimes, and bananas and frozen fruit, and using nut or seed milks. Just great stuff. And of course, the foundation of eating this way is giant salads with a dressing made typically with seeds like hemp seeds or sunflower seeds, a nice vinegar and water, and then maybe I'll season it up with herbs or flavorings. But they're creamy and yummy. And then I'm always making a soup that I have all week for emergencies or just when I don't want to cook something new. I always have plenty of soups, which are bean-based. Okay, that's the SOS-free. So, yeah, I've had blood tests done over the year, and I want to say that there's improvement, but I'm not where I want to be. So I've gone from cholesterol that's around 240 to 260, and now it's around 212 to 218. That's significant. My LDL has dropped maybe 20 points, but it's still in the low 130s. I want it under 100. So the next question is, what do I do? And I still, at this point, do not want to do statins. So in this past year, in addition to doing SOS-free, I take 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed every day. Religion. Gary takes 3 tablespoons of ground flaxseed because that's supposed to be appropriate for men, for prostate health and other things. I'm also taking Dr. Furman's DHA Purity, a few other supplements. I'll talk about that in a minute. What else? Oh, exercise. Okay, exercise is paramount. We've been walking. I joined Gary in his daily walks that he's been doing for years and years, and now I'm a part of that. We walk over an hour every day. And now I'm adding a new level of consistent exercise because I do it occasionally, but now it has to be consistent. Like the walking for this year has become consistent. I'm doing my regular yoga and some different calisthenic type exercises that are like resistance training. These things are important, and all of these things certainly contribute to good health and longevity and quality of life. But I'm hoping, as you realize, the whole point of this conversation is to knock my cholesterol down. So there are other supplements, and there are so many studies, like I mentioned, the artichoke extract. And I'm not saying that I'm going to jump into taking artichoke extract right now. But then that made me think of chrysanthemum tea. Because when I have chrysanthemum tea, and if you've tried it, it's quite lovely, I think. I've had it in a number of Chinese restaurants. That's where I discovered it. And then I went and bought a pound of organic chrysanthemum flowers, which will take a long time to drink. But it tastes a little like artichoke. So I thought, if chrysanthemum tastes a little like artichoke, and artichoke extract might have an impact on cholesterol, what about chrysanthemum? And sure enough, there have been studies, again, mostly animal studies, that show that chrysanthemum extracts are beneficial and can help lower cholesterol. So there's a tea that I drink that can be helpful, and a number of you have written to me with suggestions. One was pu'er tea. I drink pu'er tea. Also, hibiscus tea is also supposed to be helpful. So I can't drink all of these teas every day. I'll just float away. But what I'm doing is everything that I drink, if it's not water, it's going to be something that has benefit. So I drink hibiscus tea, not all the time, but some days. I drink pu'er tea, not all the time, but some days. And I drink chrysanthemum tea, and I also have some green teas. And I've got a thing for matcha, so I treat myself to that as well. But I feel like what I want to do is chip away and take a few points down here and there from one beneficial ingredient and a few more points here and there, add a little more exercise, and maybe this time I'll be lucky. Maybe I can get my cholesterol down a little bit more. Dr. Fuhrman recommended raw garlic. Now, you can take garlic capsules, and they may be more efficient, but he's always promoting natural foods. Why? Because they're going to have less side effects. And so I went and I ordered a product from Keen Garlic, Keene. They make a heritage raw garlic granule product, and it comes in a cute little shaker where you can put it on your food, and it like a salt mill or a pepper mill where you grind it and it puts powder on your food. And so I've been doing that a lot, mostly when I don't plan on being social, because although this is dry and granulated, it is raw garlic, and I use like 1/3 of a teaspoon on a soup or a salad. That's a lot of garlic. And you know what garlic does. You smell it, you taste it, it comes out of your pores. I'm not sure that this is going to have a big impact, but it was fun discovering Keen Garlic and their website I'm going to link to, because you can buy garlic from them. You can grow garlic. You can, they have a whole bunch of different products that you can grow, you can use in your garden. And they also tell you how to make raw granulated garlic. So it's a fun website to visit. So that's the garlic. And then, when you're not eating salt and oil, sometimes you need these other flavors to make food pop. So I've been enjoying using my raw granulated garlic. The other thing I just added to my supplement regimen, which consists of a multivitamin by Dr. Fuhrman. I also add a little more vitamin D to that with vitamin K. And occasionally I'll take an extra B12 sublingual. There's B12 in the multivitamin, but it's not sublingual, so I just like to take an extra one once a week. There's supposed to be no known limit to B12, so I'm not concerned about taking too much. And I take the DHA Purity, which I mentioned before, which is a liquid algae containing DHA and EPA. I just added citrus bergamot to that mix. And citrus bergamot is supposed to be something that can lower cholesterol significantly. We'll see where that goes. I didn't mention this earlier, but what got me on this whole path, I always knew that I had high cholesterol, but somewhere in my head I was thinking, maybe it's not the bad cholesterol, maybe it doesn't stick, maybe it doesn't cause plaque. But last year I did have 2 tests. I had a CT coronary calcium test, and my score, fortunately, was 0, which meant that I had no hard plaque. That was great news. Yay! But then my carotid duplex ultrasound showed soft plaque. I had mild heterogeneous plaque, both on the right and left sides, as well as non-hemodynamically significant stenosis, which refers to a narrowing of blood vessel that does not significantly impede blood flow or cause symptoms, but it should be monitored over time. And I wanted to change that. I want to reduce that. I want to clear it out. And so I'm doing what I can with exercise, diet, and some supplements because I don't want to use steroids. Have you got that? Yeah. So that's my update, and it's kind of positive. It's not exactly where I want to be, but I'm working at it. It's a work in progress. Yeah, it's frustrating because there are so many articles and studies that say when you stop eating animal products, your cholesterol is going to drop. And for many people, it does, like, instantly. I'm not one of those people. And I'm coming to find out I'm not alone. There are numerous people that are vegan or near vegan that eat primarily plant-based and have high cholesterol. Hopefully, the studies on myself will be useful to others. Who knows? But I'm having fun in the meantime, and I'm loving this SOS-free nutritarian lifestyle because I know that if it doesn't lower my cholesterol where I want it to be, it is doing significantly good things to my health overall, and that's really what matters. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, discoveries, of course, I always welcome hearing from you at info@realmeals.org. info@realmeals.org. Now on to the second part of the program. I have a friend whose daughter I've known for a very long time, and she works at Randall's Island Park Alliance, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that works with the city of New York and local communities to provide an innovative and exciting destination through a wide range of sports venues, cultural events, and environmental exploration. And my friend's daughter, Ciara Sidell, works at the Urban Farm, which is part of this Randall Islands Park Alliance. And the farm started in 2006. It has grown in size and scope since then. It features over 100 raised beds, 2 greenhouses, 4 rice paddies, and a small fruit orchard. And education is at the forefront of the design, and they do all kinds of instruction for school children and camp children, adults, and they have over 200 varieties of fruits and vegetables from around the world. It's really an amazing place, and I couldn't believe as a New Yorker that I had never been there. I had a lot of fun. Ciara gave me a tour, and in addition to this podcast, I will be uploading soon a video of the tour of all of the places we visited and all the things that they were growing. I haven't finished editing that yet. But right now, I'm going to share the interview that I had with her after we had the tour. We were outside, so there is some significant background noise. I tried to enhance that a little bit so the voices pop. I apologize for the background noise. I think the information is interesting. So let's move on to my interview with Ciara Sidell of the Urban Farm at Randall's Island Park Alliance. This is a special episode because we're outside in a place where food is grown. And I'm here with Ciara Sidell. And what's your job here?
Sure. So I am the urban farm manager here with the Randall's Island Park Alliance, and we run a 1-acre educational farm.
Now, I just have to say, I've known you since you were about half the size, 10 or so. And it's amazing just to see what you have become. I was just saying, you probably have one of the best jobs in New York City.
I certainly feel like I do. It's really exciting to be able to be out here.
So it's incredible. Well, maybe we're lucky because today it's not very crowded. But we're here on Randall's Island, which is in between Manhattan and Queens. And it's just this gorgeous nature space. And they're doing a lot of farming.
Yeah.
So tell me what you do here.
Sure, yeah. So I have a team of farmers who all double as educators. And as I said, we're an educational urban farm, and so what that looks like is we welcome people of all ages into the space to engage in what we're doing. And that looks like young people visiting on field trips and harvesting with us or planting with us, anything that is seasonally relevant at any given time, the kids are joining in on that. We also, as part of the Park Alliance, run a lot of free programming that expand outside of the field trips. And so that looks like weekend programming. We're open to the public on Saturday and Sundays. We have volunteers every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Drop-in hours, anyone is welcome, adults and kids alike. And we host larger events too, celebrations and festivals, like a harvest festival in the fall, where we bring hundreds of people here for activities. Yeah.
Right. I can't believe I have never been here. I'm a native New Yorker. I've been alive for more than half a century, and I've never been here, and I feel like a kid.
Oh, yeah. I get that a lot when folks, a lot of people come to Randall's Island for sports activities. We have a lot of sports fields, soccer fields, baseball fields. The soccer field is adjacent to the farm right over there, and so on weekends, a lot of folks who are watching their kids play sports, they discover the farm, and It's just a huge excitement in that moment.
Yeah, so I realize how important this is because humanity as a whole, I think we're going in a really misguided direction in general, and we are so disconnected to what is most important to us, the natural environment with plants and animals. And that means bugs because they're so important to us. And I just get really excited when I'm in a place where I can just pick things and eat them. It gets so deep to my core because that's how we've survived. And we're getting so far away from growing food and living together with the natural world. So I'm glad kids, especially in an urban environment, get to experience that, even if it's just briefly.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting you to know the whole history of Randall Island, but maybe you can share what you do know.
Sure. I mean, the Park Alliance has been around since 1992, and we're in charge of maintaining and programming the space. And so that expands far outside of the urban farm itself. We have a lot of gardens that our horticulture team has developed. And so we drove earlier along the waterfront, and that area is just absolutely gorgeous. Over the last many years that we've been working in the field here, and there are flowers, and there's a pathway to bike on and run on, and just kind of a beautiful waterfront view. We also, of course, have the sports fields. Historically, the island, and you still see remnants of this, the island is used for a lot. It's a very multi-use space. The Manhattan Psychiatric Center is on the island. We passed it in the golf cart as well. Large buildings.
What do they do?
They work with patients who need that care. And so they're on the island. There are a number of shelters on the island as well. There's no permanent residency on this island, but there are a number of shelters. There's a recovery center right across the way. There's a wastewater treatment plant.
Wow.
The FDNY Academy is here.
So that could be smelly sometimes.
Sometimes smelly. Today it's a good day.
I'm not smelling anything bad.
I think majority of days are good days, but sometimes it does smell a little bit. Often people think we have horses here on the farm or some sort of animals because of the smell, but we don't.
But we do.
There are horses along the waterfront,
okay.
Yes, that are unrelated to the farm operation. We grow fruits and vegetables, and that's about it. And well, we like to say that when we put education at the forefront of what we do, which is our main goal and mission, then plants and children and people can grow side by side. So.
And isn't that what life should be about?
Yeah. And your energy that you're so enthusiastic about everything in the field, you're excited to pick. You could imagine that kids who have never seen their fruits and vegetables growing are just as, if not more, excited. When they learn that you can pick a bean from the plant and just eat it right there. That's exciting. Or the lemon sorrel that we tasted earlier that has this sharp lemony flavor, and it just looks like a typical salad green, like a leaf. It's so unexpected. We call that our kind of wow factor crop, and so
love that. I noticed when I was walking around, I saw a sign that showed integrative pest management.
Sure.
And you mentioned that you're not certified organic, but you grow organically. So what's the balance?
Yeah, so have you heard of that term, integrated pest management? Awesome. So IPM.
But you could tell us what
we
it
practice
is.
IPM. I mean, in very basic terms, it means that we are not spraying any chemicals. We use things like neem oil to manage our pests. So we experience a lot of aphids and whiteflies on our collard greens and our kale, brassicas, things like that, to the point where if we were to just distribute them, as is, they'd be covered in pests. And so, chemicals work. They're not good for us. We don't use them, but it does mean that we are out in the field, really kind of like hand picking, spraying, and use more natural sprays to make sure that we can distribute food that is edible. We also, other pests that we encounter are cabbage worms. We quite literally pick them off the plant, as we notice them. And so our volunteer days on Sunday that I mentioned, sometimes we send the volunteers out into the field and we're searching, we go on a scavenger hunt for the cabbage worms, and they just look like little caterpillars, and we get rid of them.
I just want to interject here and talk about why that is important. So today, in the world of giant agribusiness, where we have a lot of machines growing and harvesting monocrops, the same plants for acres and acres, because it's efficient, my least favorite word, I think. And as a result, many of the small farms have gone out of business. They can't compete. And what's wrong with that is our food system is completely broken. And if we encourage small farmers doing the work, we'd have better food. We'd have more people employed doing something that was really meaningful. I'm not saying this is easy work. This is hard work. But knowing all of your plants and seeing what bugs are there, the beneficial insects and the wildflowers, and then the ones that are maybe chomping a little too much, and you're working towards a balance, we're losing that knowledge, and we need to regain that knowledge and kind of shrink some of these giant farms that are monocropping. And what are they monocropping mostly? They're growing food to feed animals, to feed people, which is, disaster.
Right. I mean, what we're growing here is certainly feeding people. That's very important to us. This is reminding me of just an activity we run with some of our older kids, really 5th grade and up, or even younger sometimes. It's called our food system cards, and we have these cards that demonstrate the different steps in the food system, and we talk about what is a food system, what is a system in general. What is a food system?
What is a food system? I remember somebody saying we don't have a food system.
Interesting. Yeah. And so we have cards that represent 2 different types of food systems.
There are good food systems and there are bad systems.
Exactly. And then we have the kids name the food system. So one, when I look at the cards, I'm like, oh, there's the industrial food system, here's the local sustainable food system. And they'll name it all different things, cyclical, linear, all of that. But we talk about it with visitors to the farm, with young people who are coming to the farm, about, what are all of those steps in the industrial one. We don't see people involved at all. It's all machines. There are many, many trucks. People are driving those, of course.
But not for long.
Yeah, that's true.
Robotic-driven trucks.
And then our local food system is much smaller, and it's a closed loop. We have compost that closes the loop. We're thinking more kind of within our own, ecosystem. And we always make sure, we're talking to kids who are growing up in the city. We're talking to adults who are also living in the city. And so we definitely, highlight that we are not, we can't feed the entire city at all with what we're doing here on this farm. You're different than me. I like an occasional bag of potato chips, right?
Never shall they pass my lips.
Yep. And we grow potatoes, but I haven't gotten to the point where I'm making my own potato chips. And we always want to remind people that it is okay that we're participating in, the parts of the food system that we can. It's okay to go to a bodega and get the food that is accessible to us.
Oh, sure.
If that's, what we have available. But when we're on the farm here, we get to really highlight what it's like to eat food that is grown in the field that we can harvest. And kids walk away here knowing more about, you know, what a carrot looks like, or knowing that tomatoes come in different colors. They're not just, you know, big and red. Or knowing that kale can look three different, you know, there are 3 different types of kale that we're growing here. So it's all about that kind of like light touch education, so that the next time these young kids go with their parents to a supermarket or
They'll
to a
say,
bodega,
I saw that growing.
they know what that
excited.
is. Yeah, they get excited
like that.
about eating those vegetables.
Okay, I got 2 things you brought up that I want to talk about.
Okay.
This closed loop concept. So I've talked about this before on It's All About Food with one particular veganic farmer. And he talked about keeping everything on his farm so that it's a closed loop. And if you think about it, we take food which is full of nutrients from the soil, and we ship it off somewhere else. It also has the water from this area, and we send it off somewhere else. And so when we grow again, we have to find those things and put them back. And if things were more encapsulated or more of a closed loop, we could contain everything rather than having to dig deep into the ground and pull up petroleum and make fertilizer with it, which is not the ideal for growing, and it's also not good for the environment because that puts more carbon into the atmosphere and more greenhouse gases. So the closed loop system, as much as possible. This particular farmer I was talking about, he even pooped on his own farm and composted that.
We're always talking about that. Now that the bathroom is out of service, we're like, oh, we should be making a compost toilet.
Because that's how nature was designed to be sustainable. And we just keep putting more energy in to screw it up.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's something that we're always thinking about, and we are an example of what's possible, and I think it's so special to have an example in New York City, in a city our size.
I know that a lot of kids are influenced and they're marinating and will do something good as a result.
Exactly.
So now tomatoes. Tomatoes have an incredible story, and the part of it that I find most interesting is the exploitation that is surrounded tomatoes, especially in Florida, where there have been these workers who've been treated really poorly, and they've galvanized together and created, it's called the Fair Food system, I think, Fair Food. I have to check my notes. But Florida has these rules about exporting tomatoes. They have to be almost round and have a nice shape and texture, and it's mostly for fast food establishments. So they can export the good natural tomatoes. And so they have no taste. And how crazy is that?
I mean, one of the most popular foods that we distribute to the food pantry that we work with, so we distribute 5,000 pounds of food a year to the food pantry in East Harlem. Tomatoes are certainly one of the most exciting ones that we send, because you can't find tasty, flavorful tomatoes in the supermarket.
It's hard.
For a reasonable price at the very least, or you have to go to a farmer's market to find them. And so I mean, they taste different. That's hard to
They taste.
They have flavor.
Many levels or many layers of flavor.
Absolutely.
And it's like one of the lovely things about summer, because tomatoes are very seasonal.
Absolutely.
And when we get them out of season, either from hydroponics or from other parts of the world, they just lose their flavor.
And I think you can see that difference or taste that difference with tomatoes especially, but really with any of the crops that we grow, there's a difference.
And there's nothing like just biting into a warm, real tomato.
A warm tomato. That's true. I did it yesterday for the first time this season.
So what are the favorites that the kids have when they're here?
What are the favorites? Well, I showed you the first cucamelon, that little Mexican sour gherkin. You know, kids are going to like things that have a lot of flavor, and that are fun to pick. And so those grow in our tunnel. So they're running through a tunnel, and they get to pick something that tastes like a cucumber, but it also kind of has a lemony taste to it. So that's a fun one. When we cook in the kitchen with them, I was mentioning earlier the soybeans, the edamame. For whatever reason, I mean, I think it's fun. I like them, but we boil a pot of our edamame that we grow and add, a little salt to that water. Those kids are having a lot of fun. It's a good snack on a summer day. They love to compare flavors, so like tasting different tomatoes and doing a comparison is a fun activity. With our older kids, we'll run cook-offs where they actually get to harvest everything that they want in the field. We give them kind of a one basket rule. So fill the basket, come back to the kitchen, and now prepare something, a salad, a stir fry. And kids have seen many cooking shows now. Right. So they think that they're on Top Chef. And they'll just, make a dish, and I'm interviewing them, and they'll make all different concoctions with what we're growing. So that's always fun just to see what they create.
That's fun. It's funny because it's making me think of a memory, and it's like has nothing to do with this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Sure. So about almost 20 years ago, I went on a dumpster dive where there are people called freegans who go out in the evening, and not in dumpsters in New York City, but they harvest trash.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of trash contains sometimes perfectly packaged fruits and vegetables and other foods. And so I went on a dive with some people, and we collected food, and then we went back to my apartment like a day or two later and made a big meal, and it was actually filmed by 2020. They came and we all sat down and had our dumpster dive food. But it's really fun to be able to collect a bunch of produce and then see what you can make from
Absolutely, right. I mean, you get the most exciting meals when you're not planning what it is that you're going to have necessarily. Yeah, so that's all the fun that we have here.
And then you have camps in the summer?
We do. So starting next week, you mentioned earlier that it's a quiet day on the island. It's about to not be very quiet. This is a fun week for us to just kind of ground ourselves in the space and prepare. But starting next week, we have summer camp.
And who gets to go?
It's local, what we call CBOs, so community-based organizations. So CBOs that are based in East Harlem, South Bronx, and Western Queens. So all of the neighborhoods that surround the island receive priority for field trips here.
Okay, so they have camps in different parks around the city?
Yeah, it's not necessarily in parks. It could be any organization that runs their own summer camp, and then they want to go on a field trip to the farm.
Great. I want to go.
Yeah. And on a hot summer day, the kids will take watering cans and water the crops. We engage in kind of every aspect of what we're doing, whatever's appropriate for that day. Yeah.
What haven't we talked about that we need to know? So I want to know about you, Ciara. What was required of you to be able to work here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel really lucky. I've been here for 7 years. This is my 7th season. As the farm manager here, the organization was looking for someone who was interested in education and farming, which is a fun combination. And my experience prior to this was in a number of different parts of the city. I was working for 3 years at a youth development nonprofit in Harlem called Harlem Grown. And that's where I really started in the full-time work of farming and teaching and welcoming kids to the space. In college, I studied food and environmental studies. So really, environmental studies with a focus on like food culture and systems. With the hope of coming back to New York City and doing exactly this.
I'm curious about that education. So did they emphasize sustainability, or they talk about commercial farming, just everything? Is it kind of objective or subjective? I'm wondering.
So totally depends on the class, right? I designed my own major, and so I was taking classes in all different departments, very, very interdisciplinary. I was taking anthropology classes on food. I was taking just kind of your classic botany classes in the biology department. And so we weren't necessarily going into any depth on food systems unless I did for a specific project. But it was really just a broad focus on environmental studies and what sustainability looks like and what sustainability in the food system looks like. And
Did you know what you wanted to do when you graduated? Did you want to do this?
I think that I did.
Okay.
I think that when I designed the major, I had, so in high school and in college.
Did you know this place existed?
I didn't know this place existed until after college, but I had known that another farm existed in the city, a few other farms in the city, but in high school and in college I interned at the Queens County Farm Museum. And the Queens Farm, I mean, I was there just a few weeks ago picking up some squash plants that they donated to us because ours had died. Or ours disappeared, actually. I'm not sure where they went. But anyway, so I'm still in touch with those farmers. But no, I had farmed in high school and in college just briefly for a couple of months. And I really always was attracted to the connection between farming and education. I mean, I grew up in the city. I didn't know what a farm looked like. Or certainly didn't know what a farm in the city looked like, or that it was possible to be doing this. And so when I discovered that in high school, I set out on that journey, hoping to be doing some sort of combination of agriculture and education in New York. Yeah.
So this is part of the Parks Department.
We are a public-private partnership.
Public-private partnership. Let's all say that. Public-private partnership.
So I'm employed by Randall's Island Park Alliance, which is a nonprofit.
Okay.
But we are maintaining a New York City Parks Act.
Because I know the New York City parks have a lot of intense rules.
Yes.
About what you can and cannot do. Mostly cannot.
Right. I mean, in New York City parks, you can't compost and you can't harvest. You know what's like. We are. This part is a little bit beyond me, but we have a blessing. Right. We are blessed as the Alliance to maintain this area in the way that we choose to maintain it.
Why can't you compost in a park in New York?
I mean, that's a whole...
That's insane.
Yeah. But we can compost here, you know, in our 3-bin, 5-bin system.
Because in New York City we have composting, so where is that happening? In some industrial complex?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, we're crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So mostly carted out of the city or, to the outer boroughs. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. What haven't I covered?
I'm wondering what you haven't. I mean, this is, you've covered a whole lot.
Let's talk about bugs.
Okay, we'll see what I know about bugs.
People in general,
sure,
urban people especially, don't like bugs.
Yeah.
And bugs are squirmy and we're uncomfortable around them. I've been like swatting my leg because there's been a fly nipping at my ankle.
I have mosquito bites. So.
I'm not being judgmental at all, but it's not pleasant sometimes.
Sure.
But we can't live without bugs. In fact, humans can't live without bugs.
Right.
Okay? They don't need us.
Yeah.
We need them. I had a whole program on flies at some point a while ago, and they eat up all the garbage and everything that dies, and they recycle it into wonderful things. I'm noticing there are a lot of insects here.
Sure.
And that's a sign of health.
Yes.
Of health.
Absolutely.
Right? I've seen, I don't know what kind of bees they are, but I noticed some kind of light colored bee.
Cool.
And there's a lot of butterflies or moths.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure which they are, but they're flapping around and they're colorful and they're nice. And they're important. They help pollinate.
For sure.
And clean up things.
I mean, we agree on that. I think, I mean, it's funny when we work with kids or adults and there are bugs around that can be challenging, we always do exactly what you just did, is remind folks that the bugs are part of the ecosystem that we have here, that it's amazing that they're here, that that is a sign of health. And then, with our youngest kids, we touch the worms, we touch the roly-polies, we really try to, engage in that. But I remember when I was in high school and interning on the Queens farm, I was harvesting lettuce, and I harvested a head of lettuce, and in my hand there was a slug. And I was really, really disgusted by slugs growing up, to kind of an extreme. And I just threw the lettuce and I tossed it, and the adult farmers, all my supervisors kind of looked at me like, what just happened? And I realized that day that if I was going to be a farmer, I have to get to know the slugs. I have to get to know them. And so I started to find the slugs. I went a little bit slower. And I started to find the slugs, and I would poke them a little gently and get to know them.
Yeah.
So that I wouldn't be scared anymore.
Yeah.
And they're not hurting me.
What are they doing?
I mean, they're probably eating some of the lettuce and hanging out, so that's not great to, but I'd rather remove them. I don't need to throw the lettuce away.
Right. You can gently pick them
gently
and
pick
put
them
them
up.
somewhere else.
Yeah. There's a way to be gentle.
Right. You can eat here, but not this.
Right, not this. Totally. But yeah, I realize, that's with anything, with the worms that I now have to, hold and touch and share with kids. I can't be scared of the worms.
Yeah.
And they're doing really good work.
Stuff,
they're doing
right?
good work.
Aerating and composting.
So we get to know the bugs and any critters that are on the farm. We try to get to know.
We hear people talk about how when driving a car, you don't get insects splatted on your windshield like we did some 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Huh.
And it's not a thing anymore because there aren't as many insects.
Interesting. Yeah.
That is not a good thing.
Huh.
We need more bugs. Yeah, I've got some agreement here.
It.
Yeah, absolutely.
Childhood.
Yeah, right. There were
20,
always
30,
insects on the windshield.
30,
Yep.
40.
What about mosquitoes?
We have mosquitoes. I have mosquitoes. We have to monitor our standing water. Try to.
Yeah.
But yeah, they exist for sure. Yeah.
Okay. What about those? Just reading this morning. What do they call it? The colorful little lightning beetles or something? Lantern beetles.
Was those spotted lantern flies?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the
when
one that they want us to smell.
Yes. So we do have a lot of spotted lantern flies on the farm. We saw them when we were looking at the grapevines. They're also on our raspberries.
They're beautiful.
It's funny, when they first came to the city just a few years ago.
Right.
Farmers were monitoring them. Will they, attack any of our crops? What will they do? They really have an affinity for okra. They'll be all along,
I'm cool with that. They could.
You don't like the okra? I love okra. I love okra. I think it's incredibly tasty. But so far, I haven't noticed anything significant, any significant damage. Of course, we're not a production farm. We're not monitoring our metrics so significantly. I'm not testing, everything. And it's possible our grapevines are doing worse. They do like the grapevines. It's possible our raspberries are doing a little bit worse because of them. But we're not going around killing them too extensively. We just don't have time. And I don't have so much interest in doing that. I'd rather kind of focus my energy elsewhere. But for a time, one solution with them was vacuuming them up to get rid of them faster.
Wow.
I don't bother with anything. I see them and kind of acknowledge them.
Interesting. I was just reading this morning that they anticipate them crossing the country to California in about 10 years and decimating the citrus.
Right, yeah. And I wonder on a larger scale, I haven't looked at the research recently, but I do wonder on a larger scale the grapes and any other plants that they've been. But on this farm, it's been okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. Okay, so let's just wrap this up.
Yeah.
What's the best thing that ever happened on this farm?
Okay. There's so many good things. They're kind of the best thing is, I'll just tell a story. I'll tell two stories as the best thing. There's some things that have nothing to do with kids, right? Just we've received grants that allowed us to install a larger greenhouse this year, which means that we're able to grow more plants. We're able to distribute those plants to community members. That's awesome. We love that. But I think it's always in the storytelling. It's always the stories. And a few years ago, we had a kindergarten class come to the farm, and as we were entering the farm, I said to the kids, they were a little young for this question, but I asked it anyway. I was just like, has anyone here, been to an urban farm before? And does anyone know why it's called urban? And this one little kid, this little girl, she goes, is it because you grow herbs on the farm? So I love that.
Oh my God. Let's call it an urban farm.
I was like, I know. I was like, that should just be called an urban farm. That same kid, later on in the class, that day we were doing, we were walking around and we were harvesting carrots, and we grow carrots that are all different colors, not only orange. And she asked a question during the tasting. She said, hey, Farmer C, I go by Farmer C here, like Pharmacy. Farmer C, I have a question. Does the orange carrot taste different from a purple carrot? And I said, that's an awesome question. Thanks for asking. Why don't we find out? And we tasted it. And then later on in the group, when we circle on the lawn right behind us with the whole group, 30 kids. And I said, can anyone share something they learned today? And she raised her hand and she said, I have something to share. I learned today that, I asked a really important question. I asked if orange carrots taste different than purple carrots, and I learned that actually I think they taste the same. And that was her takeaway.
Wrong. That's funny.
But it was just very sweet.
Orange carrots have beta carotene, and purple carrots have anthocyanins. That gives them their color and some of their different flavors. Okay, Ciara, this was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you so
Caryn.
much for joining me.
Pleasure.
And let's wrap this up. This is another episode of It's All About Food. Everybody, have a delicious week.